He built an empire with 1-minute videos. But in just a few years, Nas Daily went from viral sensation to public enemy. What went wrong? From cultural exploitation to shady billionaires, here are 10 moments that destroyed Nas Daily's career. This was the moment everything changed. If you ask Filipinos when they officially turned against Nas Daily, it was this moment. A scandal that took him from being an admired content creator to a villain overnight. Because in August 2021, Nas Daily did something unforgivable. He tried to sell Wangad.
Will only cost you $20.
It started with an announcement. Nas Academy was launching an exclusive Wangad masterclass.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Nas Academy. It's a new type of school that we built to teach you real skills.
A rare chance to learn the ancient art of traditional tattooing directly from Wangad herself. It sounded too good to be true. Because it was. People flocked to the website, eager to sign up. The price? 750 pesos, which was about $14. Not cheap. But for a class with a national treasure, people were willing to pay. Until one person ruined everything for Nas. Out of nowhere, a single Facebook post flipped everything upside down. It came from Gracia Palikas, Wangad's grandniece, and it said something that shattered Nas Daily's credibility. Warning! Wangad Academy is a scam. My grandmother did not sign any contract with Nas Daily to do any academy. Some people are taking advantage of our culture. Please help us stop this disrespect to the legacy of Apo Wangad and the Buttbot tribe. A scam. Filipinos froze, then they lost it. Social media went nuclear. Did he seriously think he could make money off a 104-year-old woman? Exploiting indigenous culture for profit? Nas, are you insane? This man came to our country and thought he could sell our heritage. It wasn't just about the course. It was about outsiders exploiting indigenous people for centuries, and Filipinos were done with it. Nas fought back. He denied everything. He posted a long response insisting that Wangad had agreed to the masterclass. His team even released a video showing Wangad stamping her thumbprint on what they claimed was a legally binding contract.
The same people say we used Wangad. That's why we paused Nas Academy for now to work with NCIP to make sure everything is legal and everything is okay because we care.
Okay.
And Wangad loves us.
Did you and Wangad ever have beef?
No,
you and Wangad?
Never. She's never. It's been about members of the tribe.
Members of the tribe, yeah.
But Wangad herself is amazing.
Okay.
But here's the problem. Filipinos didn't believe him because there was one question he couldn't answer. Did Wangad even understand what she was signing? Wangad is 104 years old. She doesn't speak English. She doesn't use technology. And yet, Nas Daily expected people to believe that she voluntarily agreed to teach an online course. On a website she had never even seen, one word kept coming up in the backlash. Consent. Did she really give it, or was she being exploited? By this point, Nas had no choice. The backlash was too massive. He shut down the Wangad course, he issued another statement, and he tried to move on. But the damage, it was already done. Filipinos didn't forget. They didn't forgive. And for the first time, Nas Daily was no longer just a content creator. He was a cautionary tale.
We think that everybody that succeeds is evil. I don't know why we think that. But if somebody succeeds on YouTube or in the world, if they become a billionaire or if they become very successful or become a politician, then automatically they're evil. And I don't quite get why that is.
Just when the flames were starting to die down, another bombshell dropped. It wasn't a rumor. It wasn't speculation. It came from someone who had met Nas Daily in real life, someone with receipts. Her name? Louise Mabulo, an award-winning Filipino entrepreneur. A young leader recognized globally for her work in sustainable farming. A woman who had built a social enterprise aimed at helping farmers in the Philippines.
Dare to feed the future, dare to purchase sustainable produce, and dare to make your own sustainable produce.
And on that fateful day, she decided to tell the world the truth about Nas Daily. It started with a Facebook post. She had invited Nas to her hometown in 2019. She had welcomed him, hoping he would use his platform to shine a light on Filipino farmers. She thought he was coming to help, but he didn't care about any of that. Instead, Louise exposed him for what he really was, a man who mocked her people. According to Louise, Nas wasn't there to learn, he wasn't there to listen. Instead, he laughed at the locals. He mocked the Tagalog accent. He belittled the way Filipinos spoke. Imagine that, flying into a country only to insult its people. For Filipinos, language is deeply personal. It carries history, it carries pride, it carries the pain of centuries of colonization. And yet, here was Nas Daily, a foreigner, walking in and treating it like a joke.
I'm going to be honest. I broke the law in more than 50 countries around the world. And I'm about to confess to millions of people.
But that wasn't even the worst part. According to Louise, Nas wasn't interested in real stories. He didn't care about the farmers. He didn't care about her initiative. All he wanted? Clickbait. Louise wrote in her post, he was only interested in making content that was click-worthy. He didn't care about authenticity. He wanted a sensational story, not a real one. And when he realized the farmers' struggles weren't dramatic enough for him, he left. Just like that. And then, Louise called him out for something even bigger. She accused Nas of fueling neo-colonialist narratives. She said he wasn't just an influencer. He was another foreigner telling Filipinos how to fix their own country. And that hit a nerve, because Filipinos have seen this before. Rich foreigners flying in, pointing at problems, telling locals how to solve them, then leaving when the cameras stop rolling. And this time, people weren't going to let it slide. The backlash exploded. Social media lit up with outrage. Louise's post went viral overnight. Filipinos flooded the comments. So he mocked our language, and we let him in? First, he exploited our tattoo artist, now our farmers. Why do we keep giving these foreigners a platform? Even Filipino celebrities and influencers joined the conversation. At that moment, Nas Daily wasn't just a problematic influencer. To Filipinos, he had become the very thing they despised most. And what did Nas do? For once, he stayed silent. No fiery Facebook post, no defensive video, no misunderstood excuse. Because how do you defend yourself when the truth is this clear? For the first time in his career, Nas Daily had no words. And the Filipino people, they were done with him. This time, there was no coming back.
Fortunately, we stumbled upon a fake story in the Philippines, which is the Cacao Project. On paper, it was supposed to be a non-profit that helps farmers. In reality, it's a for-profit that exploits farmers. We said we cannot do this video in good conscience. We cannot show you things that we are not confident of. And it wasn't just us. Every person who was on the trip agrees that this story may not be real. And this is the evidence. We refused to make that episode, even if it would go viral. And that decision pissed off a lot of people. He didn't eat our food, they said. He insulted our farmers, they said. He made fun of our accents, they said. Of course, none of that is true. It is false. And people continued with this fake news. The same people say we used Wang Od, which is also false. In everything we do, we get permission. We worked with the family directly and got their consent. We made sure to support them during these difficult times. We did all of this as an act of support, not an act of exploitation. I am angry and you are angry. And
Nas Daily has made a career out of telling inspiring stories, but sometimes the storyteller becomes the villain. And in February 2023, that's exactly what happened. Because in his latest viral video, Nas didn't just spark controversy, he ignited a firestorm. Nas had just released a video about Bali, a place millions of people dream of visiting.
I have just arrived to the country of protein!
He painted it as heaven on earth, a place where life is cheap, the people are kind, and every day feels like an adventure. On the surface, it seemed like just another classic Nas Daily feel-good story. But within hours of uploading, something felt off. Because while tourists were gushing over the video, locals were furious. Comments started flooding in, and they weren't the usual mix of admiration and inspiration. This is the most tone-deaf thing I've ever seen. Why are you glorifying Bali's tourism without mentioning what it's doing to the locals? This feels like colonialist propaganda. For the people of Bali, Nas Daly's video wasn't a celebration. It was an erasure of their reality. Because while he was showcasing white influencers riding scooters through rice fields, laughing under the sun, he completely ignored the darker side of Bali's booming tourism industry, the skyrocketing cost of living, the loss of traditional land, the way local Balinese people are often treated like background props in their own home, and the part that made people angriest? The casual racism buried within the video itself.
Is white.
Hi.
He is white. And they are white. This is the whitest village in all of Asia. This is Bali.
There was one particular moment that set the internet on fire. Nas featured a white couple living in Bali talking about how they had escaped their home country to find a better life. And in the video, Nas framed them as the main characters of Bali, as if they were the ones bringing value to the island, as if they were the reason Bali was so special, completely sidelining the Balinese people who have lived there for generations. So let's get this straight. Bali, a land with thousands of years of history, culture, and tradition, is it amazing because Westerners moved there? One local influencer posted, "I thought this was satire. Then I expected a plot twist. Now I'm just disappointed." Another simply wrote, "Racism has entered the chat." And then the final dagger, a viral TikTok from a Balinese woman staring directly into the camera, her voice shaking with frustration. "You made a video about my home and yet we are nowhere in it." This wasn't the first time Nas had been accused of cultural insensitivity. Far from it. Because if you've been paying attention, you'll notice a pattern. Remember when he romanticized the Philippines but completely misrepresented its people? Remember when he called Singapore the perfect country while ignoring all its deep-rooted issues? And now, Bali, the same script, the same formula, the same erasure. For years, people had warned, Nas Daily doesn't celebrate cultures, he packages them for views. And this time, he got caught. Of course, Nas wasn't just going to sit back and let the internet destroy him, he fought back. He doubled down on his video, claiming that people were just looking for reasons to be angry, that he was just highlighting the beauty of Bali, and that his critics were haters who didn't understand his mission. But the damage was done. His reputation, already fragile, was shattered even further. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't just about one bad video, this was about a pattern of exploitation. A content creator who had spent years using different countries as backdrops. Without ever truly respecting the people who live there, headlines appear, one after the other. Nas Daily faces major backlash over Bali video. Indigenous creators slam Nas for glorifying white tourism. How one viral video exposed a much bigger problem. Nas Daily wanted to inspire the world, but with every controversy, he only proves one thing. Maybe he was never here to celebrate cultures. Maybe he was only ever here to sell them. Nas, do you even hear yourself?
Before you make an opinion, you have to get the facts. And if you make an opinion before getting the facts, that's a you problem.
For years, Nas Daily built his brand on positivity. Look how amazing the world is. This country is the best. These people are the happiest. But what happens when that positivity starts feeling fake? What happens when people realize it's not admiration, it's not appreciation, it's just strategy? Because one day Nas Daily crossed a line, and this time, the country he praised didn't want it. It started like any other video. Nas Daily flew to Singapore and immediately started calling it the best country on earth.
Of the almost perfect country of Singapore!
Singaporeans were confused. Okay, sure, Singapore is great. No one's arguing that. But the way Nas was talking, it felt forced. He wasn't just praising Singapore, he was selling it. And then, Singaporeans started noticing something strange, because the more he praised Singapore, the more he shaded Malaysia. Now here's where things get interesting. Nas couldn't enter Malaysia, not because of visa issues, not because of lawsuits, but because he was holding an Israeli passport.
I am scared. At the border, trying to enter a country I am banned from. And the border officer knew it.
That's crazy.
Which meant Nas was stuck in Singapore, and suddenly he was hyping Singapore like his life depended on it. Coincidence? Singaporeans didn't think so. The internet caught on, and once again, it backfired. Because instead of feeling flattered, Singaporeans were annoyed. They saw right through him. One comment said, "Dude, stop acting like a tourism board. We know why you're here." Another said, "He's just salty Malaysia didn't let him in. Now he's overcompensating." And the most brutal? This isn't admiration. This is a visa tantrum. For years, Nas marketed himself as a global citizen, a man without borders. But now, his own passport had turned against him. And instead of owning up to it, instead of being honest, he used another country as a rebound. Singapore saw through the act. Malaysia didn't care. And Nas, he had just proven his critics right. Because at the end of the day, it was never about the country, it was never about the culture, it was never about the people. It was always about Nas. If there's one thing Nas Daily is known for, it's hyping people up. This person is amazing. This company is changing the world. This billionaire is solving world hunger. But what happens when the people he hypes up turn out to be frauds? What happens when the billionaires he calls heroes end up in handcuffs? Well, it happened. Twice. And Nas Daily never saw it coming. Let's go back to 2021. Nas Daily drops a video about a young crypto billionaire. His name, Sam Bankman-Fried.
Okay, the guy you see next to me is the most generous billionaire in the world, and I found him. But Sam has $22 billion, and he wants to donate all of it to charity. But why?
And in this video, Nas couldn't stop praising him. Meet Sam Bankman-Fried, the most generous billionaire on earth. He wants to give away all his money to make the world better. For Nas, this was the perfect story. A young, relatable tech genius who wasn't just making billions, but also giving it all away. It was wholesome, inspiring, clickable, and completely false.
Dollars, you buy 10,000, you sell 11,000, you make $1 million, and we were able to do that every weekday.
So every weekday you made $1 million in profit just from doing that.
That's right.
Because 1 year later, Sam Bankman-Fried was exposed. Turns out, the most generous billionaire wasn't so generous after all. SBF's crypto empire, FTX, was a massive fraud. Millions of people lost their savings. Billions of dollars vanished. And suddenly, Nas Daily's big endorsement did not age well. The internet had a field day. One comment said, "Nas Daily really called a scammer the most generous billionaire. I can't." Another said, "Next time Nas hypes someone, I'm shorting their stock." And the worst one? If Nas Daily endorses you, it's a red flag. Now you'd think, after getting burned so badly by SBF, Nas would learn his lesson. He didn't, because right after the FTX scandal, Nas found a new billionaire to worship. This time, it was Changpeng Zhao, the CEO of Binance. Meet CZ, the genius behind Binance. He built the biggest crypto exchange in the world. And once again, Nas presented him as a visionary, as a disruptor, as a financial genius.
This is the richest guy in the world from crypto, and you don't even know him.
Hi, my name is CZ.
He made over $60 billion, but his mom still called him stupid.
But then, history repeated itself. Because just months later, CZ was charged with money laundering. And this wasn't just small fraud. We're talking about billions of dollars flowing through Binance illegally. And once again, Nas Daily's endorsement aged like milk.
Binance founder CZ sentenced to 4 months in prison on anti-money laundering charges.
Binance agrees to pay $4.3 billion, and their CEO has pled guilty to violating money laundering rules and has stepped down, claiming, quote, "I make mistakes and I must take responsibility."
What is your relationship with Binance now?
I have stepped down from the CEO role. I am not supposed to be involved in any day-to-day operations of the company. My shareholder rights, as far as I know, are not impacted. So today I'm still a large shareholder of Binance.
At this point, people weren't even surprised anymore. One tweet said, "Nas Daily has the worst billionaire endorsement track record of all time." Another said, "If Nas hypes a billionaire, run." And the final blow? Nas Daily is either incredibly naive or part of the problem. Ouch. For years, Nas Daily built his brand on optimism. But now, people were starting to question him. Was he just too naive to see the red flags? Or worse, did he not care as long as it got him clicks? Because endorsing one billionaire fraudster, that's bad luck. But endorsing two, that's a pattern. And now, Nas Daly's credibility was hanging by a thread.
Every time I say the I word, which is Israel, I lose followers. Every time I say the I word, which is the country I'm from, I lose brand deals. So I succeeded despite being canceled more than 10 times.
But he wasn't done yet, because of his next controversy would be even worse. At this point, Nas Daly was hanging by a thread. His reputation was in tatters, his fan base shattered, his so-called charity projects under investigation, but just when people thought he couldn't sink any lower, he did. Because what happened next would destroy the last bit of trust anyone had in him. For years, Nas had built an image of himself as a collaborator, a connector, a man who brought people together. He proudly claimed, "I work with the best creators. I help people grow. We lift each other up." But behind the scenes, it was a different story. And in a shocking turn of events, his closest friends and collaborators came forward to expose him.
It is sad, but it's also the truth. Corporates are heartless, and you accepting it and moving on is the only thing you can do.
One by one, creators, influencers, and ex-business partners started speaking out. Nas Daly used us for clout, then tossed us aside. He never actually helped anyone. He only cared about how they could help him. I was promised payment, but never got a single dollar. He owes people money, and he knows it. And just like that, the final cracks in Nas Daly's empire started to break. As more people came forward, a pattern emerged. Nas Daly was never the generous mentor he claimed to be. Instead, he manipulated smaller creators, made empty promises, and when they were no longer useful, he ghosted them. One ex-collaborator leaked shocking messages showing how Nas pressured people into working for free, promising them exposure instead of payment. "Work with me, and your brand will explode. Trust me, this will be huge for you. I can't pay you now, but once we grow, you'll be rich." Sound familiar? It was the classic scam. Get people excited, use them for their work. Then, when they ask for what they were promised, disappear. Comments flooded social media. This guy built his career by exploiting people. Disgusting. So he was basically running a free labor scheme? Wow. Why does this not surprise me? And just when Nas thought it couldn't get worse, it did. By mid-2024, Nas Daly's reputation was already hanging by a thread. But then, on July 15th, 2024, he dropped a video that would push his career past the point of no return. The title? "I studied Islam for 1 month, and I lost all my hair."
I spent 1 full month studying my religion, Islam. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah.
What was meant to be a personal documentary quickly became one of the most offensive, tone-deaf moves of his career, because for the Muslim community, this wasn't educational, this wasn't insightful, this was exploitation. From the moment the video went live, people were furious. The title alone made people stop in their tracks. What does Islam have to do with losing your hair?
This is my hair. This is his hair. This is his hair. This is his hair. His hair. His hair. His hair. And his hair. We all have the same haircut.
Why does this sound like a joke? Oh, so now religion is just another gimmick for views? And when people watched the actual content, it only got worse. Instead of a respectful exploration of Islam, the video came off as surface level and performative. More about Nas than about Islam itself. Another "I did something for 30 days" challenge, treating faith like a social experiment. And for a religion followed by nearly 2 billion people worldwide, this was beyond disrespectful.
There are more than 2 billion of us in every country in the world.
Within hours, some of the biggest Muslim creators online called him out. This is not how you talk about Islam. This is not how you represent a faith. This is just another stunt for clicks. Disgusting. Imagine someone doing this with Christianity or Judaism. Imagine using any faith as a social experiment. You see the problem now? People weren't just offended, they were exhausted. Because this wasn't the first time Nas had pulled something like this. He had a history of using sensitive topics, race, culture, politics, and now religion, to farm engagement. And people were done with it. The biggest criticism? Nas wasn't actually interested in Islam. This wasn't about understanding the religion, the culture, or the people who follow it. It was just another 30-day challenge. A trend-chasing, engagement-boosting formula that he had used again and again. People started digging into past videos pointing out a pattern. I lived like a billionaire for a month. Gained him access to wealthy circles. I survived on $1 a day. Boosted his underdog image. I studied Islam for a month. Just another viral stunt. And when the pattern became clear, the backlash only intensified. This wasn't about sharing experiences. This was about clicks, views, and money. And just like that, the internet turned on him. This man treats every culture like a TikTok challenge. Muslims are not your content strategy, Nas. We're not your social experiment. This is our faith, not a game. The comments flooded in, the dislikes piled up, and for the first time, Nas wasn't just controversial, he was radioactive. Even brands started distancing themselves, not wanting to be associated with someone who had just alienated one of the biggest religious communities in the world. And the worst part? Nas still didn't get it. Instead of acknowledging the criticism, Nas did what he always does. He doubled down. In a follow-up post, he wrote, "I made this video out of respect for Islam. I wanted to learn. I wanted to experience something different. But people weren't buying it. Because respect doesn't look like this. Respect isn't clickbait. Respect isn't turning faith into content. Respect isn't making Islam the backdrop for your personal struggles." And as the backlash kept growing, Nas tried to ignore it, but he couldn't. Because this time, the damage was permanent. Nas Daily had burned one of the biggest bridges possible, and his fall from grace was only getting worse. For years, Nas Daily tried to balance the impossible. Born in Israel but of Palestinian descent, he built his brand on being a global citizen, someone who could unite people, not divide them. But when it comes to Israel and Palestine, there is no neutral ground. And in 2024, the cracks in his carefully curated persona finally shattered.
This is the most controversial video I will make, and it's about Israel and Palestine. And more than 10 million people have asked for this video. So here it is with no filters.
It started with a clip, a short, grainy video surfaced online, one that no PR team could spin. In the footage, Nas is seen saying, the clip was old, but that didn't matter, because now it was everywhere.
Fuck what you said? Fuck Israel, sir.
For some, this was proof that Nas had been hiding his true views all along. The Israeli community, which once celebrated him as a Palestinian-Israeli success story, turned against him instantly. Israeli commentators lashed out. So he builds his career here, then turns around and insults Israel? Fake peacemaker. He was never neutral. This guy is a fraud. But then, the backlash flipped. Because when the controversy erupted, Nas did something unexpected.
It's not about me. This is not about Israel or Palestine. This is about every conflict in the world.
He tried to walk it back. In a public statement, he claimed, "I was young. I was angry. I don't believe that today." And suddenly, the Palestinian community turned on him too. Palestinian voices fired back. You can't erase your words just because it's inconvenient now. He built a platform on being Palestinian. Now he's afraid? This is who he really is. No backbone.
Sometimes it was Israel's fault, and many times it was Palestine's fault, right? But eventually, the leaders in these positions, I've come to realize it is more popular to wage a war than to wage peace. In the Middle East, more politicians died from making peace than from making war.
Instead of pleasing both sides, Nas had alienated them both. And now, no one wanted him. For years, Nas tried to stay in the middle, never fully siding with Israel, never fully siding with Palestine, because his brand was about unity, not division. But in a conflict this deep, silence is a stance.
You know, I think my main mission in life is to make Jews and Arabs like each other. Like, I think that is a worthy mission. And when that happened to me, like I was very happy it was on camera by mistake, because it shows, you know, we all suffer from it.
Jews suffer from it, Arabs suffer from it. No one enjoys hate. And if you do enjoy hate, then
you need help.
You need help.
And when his words finally caught up with him, it exposed the ugly truth about his entire career. He was never truly neutral. He was just playing both sides. And now, both sides had rejected him. The fallout was brutal. Nas Daily has been exposed. He's not authentic. He's just strategic. He built his empire on Palestine, then ran when it got tough. Fake. Just another influencer trying to survive. Even brands distanced themselves, not wanting to be caught in the storm. And for Nas, this was the biggest identity crisis of his life, because for the first time ever, there was no global citizen escape. He had to choose, and the internet was watching his every move. For years, Nas Daily sold himself as the ultimate truth teller. He was the guy who hated clickbait and only made videos about things he believed in. He claimed his content was about honest storytelling, not money. But in 2024, everything changed, because that's when the truth finally came out. It happened during a live interview. Nas was discussing how he picks the topics for his videos when, without thinking, he let it slip.
Get a brand deal in which I have to go on the spot for one full day and make a video about a person. So
Oh, wow.
those take full days.
Interesting. So sometimes the characters that are in your video are actually paid sponsorships.
Sometimes, yes.
Most of my videos are paid. The interviewer froze. Wait, you mean companies pay you to make these videos? Nas hesitated. Then, in the most awkward, unconvincing way possible, he tried to backtrack. I mean, yeah, but it's not like... I believe in them. It's not just for money. But it was too late, because at that moment, the entire illusion shattered. For years, Nas had built his brand on trust. He made videos about things that matter, right? He wasn't some corporate shill, right? Wrong. The internet exploded. Wait, so all those heartwarming stories were just ads? Bro, you're literally a walking commercial. Fake. He's been lying this whole time. People started digging, and what they found made it worse. It turned out this wasn't new. For years, Nas had been making videos that looked organic but were actually paid promotions. Governments, corporations, even questionable billionaires. And the worst part? He never told his audience. No disclosure, no transparency, just feel-good videos that made people believe in something that someone had paid him to promote. One user broke it down perfectly in a viral tweet. Nas Daily isn't a storyteller. He's a salesman pretending to be one. And just like that, his credibility was gone. Realizing the backlash was spiraling out of control, Nas tried to defend himself. He went on social media, posting a long defensive response. He claimed that he only took sponsorships from brands he believed in. He argued that even without the money, he would have made the same videos, but no one bought it. Then why hide the fact that they're paid? Believing in something and being paid to believe in it are two different things. Nas Daily equals trust level, 0. Every time he tried to explain, people just got angrier. Because this wasn't just about one mistake, this was about years of deception. Once trust is gone, it never comes back. Brands pulled back, viewers unfollowed, creators called him out. Nas Daily went from being the most authentic storyteller to just another influencer who will say anything for money. One brutal comment summed it up perfectly. He always told us to follow the money when exposing scams. Turns out, we should have been following his. And just like that, Nas Daily's empire of trust collapsed. Because in the world of social media, once you're exposed as fake, there's no coming back. So, what do you think? Is Nas Daily just misunderstood? Or did he ruin his own career? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into the biggest internet controversies.